Well, hello. I'm Jeff Gould, America's storyteller. I got a frog right here. You wanted to join me, but I got rid of him just now. So, thanks for doing the live show with us today. And we'll get into more details about why we're doing it. In the meantime, as you watch, if you would comment, subscribe, share, we're growing this audience. And this is approximately a 1 hour show that has different chapters in it. And the one I want to start with, chapter one, has to do with today, the greatest president ever, chapter one. All right. Because you're in this experiment, you probably don't even know what's going on, but everybody's got their job to do. You, your average citizen, you get to vote and you vote for whoever you want. And that person gets into office and their job is to make laws or legislate. And then the cops enforce those laws and the judges jump in and say, wait, you didn't enforce that right, or this whole law isn't right. And they adjudicate. And then you do what we all do. You complain. Our free press, we say, I hate that law. I used to vote for it. Now I don't like it. I hate that guy. I used to like him. Now I don't. I want him out of office. And we complain. And that is our system of government that we also get to complain about because it is a hot mess. So, because we are picky people, I just want to, as a fellow American, just talk about what it could have been. I just Googled this, as a matter of fact. How many dictators have we had in the last 250 years? Do you want to guess? 12. And they're listed out in Wikipedia in alphabetical order. Just some of the top ones. Mao Zedong, Pol Pot. He's the one who had the Khmer Rouge. Mussolini, Khrushchev, Stalin, Napoleon, Mussolini. Did I forget anybody? Oh, yes, Hitler. So let's just talk about these guys and say that you're living in their country when we try to work through this process. I'll just jump down to the last one here where you complain. What happens to you when you live in that country and you complain when these dictators are in power? Well, it's called 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm told that seems to be the time when most of the city is asleep and they kind of whisk in and there's something that happens and all of a sudden nobody knows what happens to you. And the neighbors don't even like to talk about it because you stepped out of line. And this happened in the tune to the millions, may I say even billions of people. So George Washington could have been like anybody else, like these other dictators. They had his name on a coin. They put his name on a town. They put his name on a city. They named everything after him. They called him the father of the country. But then this is what he did that none of these other dictators did. He walked away from power. He stepped back and said, no, I'm going to give all of my power back to this system I just got done talking about. Voting, legislating, adjudicating, complaining. And that is what he gave. And how good a job did he do? Well, that job title, president, was an arcane part of parliamentary procedure. It was way down in page 14, bottom line. President, somebody who temporarily presides over a meeting. And so we named that lowly office as the leader of this new experiment called the American story. And it is alive and well and ticking today. And while other parts of the world have gone through 112 dictators, we have presidents. Now, some of these dictators are so taken with the name president that they call themselves president for life, but they're not, are they? We have been given George Washington, who can only be described as the greatest president ever, simply for one reason. If he didn't succeed, there wouldn't have been any other presidents since he got to office. So, on this President's Day, we are celebrating George Washington and all the presidents. But we'll put him first in line. By the way, his birthday is February 22nd. Put that in the calendar and tell somebody about why you like living in this experiment. And my friends, that is chapter one. We've had a lot of fun doing this chapter two part. It's called Keep or Toss. And we did 31 of these videos. We put them out there. They're less than 3 minutes long. It's me going through my stuff, trying to decide if I should keep it or throw it away. We thought this would be fun because I think this is what everybody does. So let's just watch a couple of these videos, shall we?
Okay, here we go. Keep or toss? Okay, so this canister belonged to my grandfather. See, it says thick sacks on it. That's because it contains nothing but feed sacks. Huh. So my grandpa Ebert farmed down by St. Louis. He didn't say he was a farmer. He said he was a former, because that's the kind of accent he had. And he formed corn, only it wasn't regular shell corn. It was popcorn. It was hybrid popcorn. And he would sell this to local markets. He would harvest it, dry it by hand, shuck it, and shell it, and then put it in these bags and sell it to local movie theaters in St. Louis. And he would bag it up and bring it to movie theaters and said, okay, you can try this corn. He had a voice like that. You can try this corn, and if you don't like it, it's free. If you want it, you can buy more. And you know what? They always bought more. Why? Well, because the hybrid popcorn he bought was out of the University of Indiana, and there was a young guy who was working there who was really at the cutting edge of popcorn hybrids. This guy in his 20s was named Orville Redenbacher. So, do I keep these bags or toss them?
Obviously. Now, do we have one where I kept almost everything? So Booker, do we have one that I threw something away on? Okay, yes. I think I actually decided to. Oh, I won't give it away, but let's see if we can. What's going on here? Okay.
All right. Keep or toss? So my mom would take these filters. She got a whole bunch of them. They were food grade. And she would use these to filter out, I think it might have been a lard that she would render that she would use this for. Maybe she used it for honey. I don't think they're food grade anymore. You know, maybe some sort of a cap, but I don't think that's going to work. My question is, keep or toss? You're right. Toss. Unless you want them.
Too late. They've gone to the landfill. You missed your opportunity. So we've been posting those. We'll continue to post some of these. In fact, look what I have right here. See these? These have been sitting in my office. Well, what in the world are these? Do you know what these are? Look at these. Look at these. Yeah, they're buggy wheels. Yeah, and I'm looking at these. You see the hidden message in these buggy wheels? You see that? You see how the spokes are little hearts? Oh, isn't that cute? Can't throw these away. Right. I'm working on, I don't know what the project is. So I'm setting them off to the side. Sometime in the middle of the night, 2:00 in the morning, I'm going to go, I know exactly what I'm going to do with those baby buggy wheels. Rubber baby buggy. Anyway. All right. Oh, it is. So that is Keep or Toss. That is chapter 2. Now, chapter 3. As you are aware, I am a genius in my own mind. I have genius ideas about 6 times a day. If I was smart, I would write all of these genius ideas down to help you make $1 million. In fact, even to save humanity. Such are these genius ideas. So let's talk about our first one. Let's just talk about, and this is not my idea, but it is a genius idea. We talked about this a little bit earlier with Dwayne Bickett, who, by the way, is on assignment today. We'll bring him back next week and see if we can complain about him and the homeowners for a little bit. Let's pull up our first one here, deer whistles. Now, what you love about deer whistles is you'd see this at gas stations, wouldn't you? You go in there and they'd be on a little display and it'd be like $7. And you'd say, well, I could mount that in the front of my car. And as it travels down the road, it'll make a high pitched whistle, which will drive deer away. And while you were buying these things, you thought, probably seems too good to be true. It's probably not going to work. But it's only $7. So it was that interesting price point where you'd pay for it and yet at the same time would not at all be disappointed if they didn't work, because at the end of the day, you knew better anyway. In the meantime, the guy who invented these things, I hope he's a millionaire. I hope he's doing very well, which brings me to my next genius idea. Here it is right here. Can you see this? Holding it up to the camera, it is a piece of a wire that I entered into the Staples Invention Quest contest. I did this in the year 2003 with a friend of mine named John Olson. And when you invent something, here's what you need to know. The halfway to inventing something is thinking of a problem. Most people don't even pay attention to problems. They just think they're always going to be there, or they don't even notice them. But this was the problem that I noticed when I was working in an office cubicle, the kind that had that kind of, fabric on the side that looked like burlap that was supposed to mute the sound. In the meantime, I'm in my cubicle and I've got to hang stuff on the walls. Well, tape would not stick to that burlap, and bobby pins would fall out, or not bobby pins, push pins. And I'm thinking on my floor on the umpteenth time, on my hands and knees, getting stuff that fell down. What if there was an office supply product that would help things stick to cubicle walls? So I went to my friend John Olson and I said, what do you think about this idea? And I showed this to him. See, it's a corkscrew, right? I said, what if we took a corkscrew and made it a little bit shorter and attached it to like a button so we could twist it in and hold things in that cubicle? Then he comes back a couple of days later and says, I got something that's even better. And he holds up this. It's a little piece of wire that's in the shape of a Z. Now, you can't see this, but the Z has been cut at a sharp angle with the pliers. So it's like a pin that you would stick into the, I'll do this with this piece of paper right here. You can do this. I'll take it like so. I'll stick it in like that. And now it's like its own little like hook, and you can hang stuff on it. All right. So that was our simple idea. We entered it into the Staples Invention Quest contest. And you naysayers who say we don't have genius ideas here on the show, we were one of the 12 finalists. We got $5,000 and a trip to New York City, and we got to ring the bell at the NASDAQ opening. And that, I don't have pictures of that. Maybe it's somewhere in posterity. Anyway, we were one of the 12 finalists. Did we win? No, we did not. Have you ever seen those locks that don't have numbers on the side, but they have letters, and you can make them form words? They're called word locks. That's the chump that won the contest that year. I'm not bitter. He does a good job. But that did leave me with this question. Even though we didn't win the Staples Invention Quest contest, could we go out on our own and make these Z pins ourselves? So we looked into it. We got a hold of a manufacturer. We decided that it should be a little bit stiffer than ordinary paper clip wire. Maybe needed to be some sort of piano wire. Wasn't exactly sure how we could cut that at a steep enough angle and sharpen it so it would stick. So there's some questions in it. And then there came the real problem. The minimum order would be 1 million of these things, 1 million. And it would cost us $12,000. Which means that we would have gotten a box delivered to my house, fairly small, fairly heavy, 12,000 Z pins. $12,000 worth of Z pins. And a quick math would say this. If you sell a box of these of about 12 to 20 in a box and you sell each little box for $1, how many of these little boxes do you have to sell to break even? 12,000. And that, of course, doesn't include the packaging and this distribution. So every once in a while, you'll see about the guy who invented the ballpoint pen. And I used to read these little articles where this guy named Biff Sorensen invented the original ballpoint pen. And he sold it. He sold the invention for $50 to the Bic Corporation. You hear these kind of inventions, right? I used to scoff at those stories until I entered the Staples business contest. And now I get to thinking, $50, that's not bad, right? Because I never did cash in on this. But, my friend, this is before the days of Amazon and the internet. And this is my genius idea that I give to you freely. We date stamped this show. I'm not going to take you to court or anything, but I just want props as the original Z-Pin inventor. And I'll go on with John Olson, the co-inventor of the show. We just want props for being geniuses ahead of our time. So at the end of the show, you'll get a chance to vote. Which of these genius ideas do you like better? The deer whistle, which makes a lot of money, but doesn't really work. And the Z-Pin, which may work someday, but has never been brought to market. Okay? And that is chapter 3. Now, this is my favorite part. Chapter 4, it's behind the curtain. Now, usually we have a guy from the trades come in who tells us some of the things that are happening behind it. But look at this. This is me. That's supposed to be me looking at you from behind the curtain. And this is what I want to talk to you about today, because I happen to know a little bit about the broadcast industry and how you make money in broadcast television, broadcast radio, and now on the internet. So, Booker, why don't you pull up this graphic of the bell curve if you can, okay? So this is what we know. The smaller the number of stations to choose from, the more you have to be at the center of that bell curve. You see that? Right where it says, I like that story. When we started out in broadcasting when I was young, we would appeal to the middle and we'd say things like, don't say something that you wouldn't want your grandmother to hear, stuff like that. And we were appealing to the mass audience that was in the middle. So if there were only 2 radio stations or television stations in the market, they were struggling and grappling for the center of the bell curve. Now, if you look at this example of a bell curve, there are 6 different stations, or sections on the bell curve, and they go in line. The first 4 kind of grab the middle, and the 2 at the bottom end of the bell curve, they start to take whatever's left over. Now, this is what is interesting when it comes to markets. The more choices you have, the more radio stations you have, the more television stations you have, the more fragmented that audience becomes. And now you are looking for scraps on the table. The only strategy that works very well in that is to attack an audience. In fact, the more diverse and divisive the content is, the stronger the following you'll have for your tiny little radio station. Rule of thumb, you need about 10,000 people to make a radio station go. We'll make it the same assumption for television. We'll make the same assumption for a podcast or a niche cast or a YouTube channel. You need about 10,000 people. If you were to do that in your area, you'd be locked in by geography, and good luck, because that's kind of hard to do. But because of the internet, you're not locked in by geography. You can now appeal to 10,000 people all over the world. And this is why we are seeing such diverse content. Another thing behind the scenes that you would see all of the time If I said something on the radio, I would be beholden to my program director and the boss and the FCC, which held my license. If I said, let's talk about George Carlin's seven famous words. If I were to do something profane, they would jerk the station's license and I would be out of a job. Think of how much that has changed in your time. There is nobody paying attention to what anybody is saying. In fact, the only thing that's paying attention to it is the algorithm. And if it's noticing a lot of action on a particular comment, it's not talking about the validity of the comment. It's just talking about how incendiary that comment is. And the more inflammable that content is, the more people like it, and the greater that person is likely to break that 10,000 viewer threshold. And so there are people who can lie, make up the whole story, and if you can get 10,000 people to like it or hate it or comment on it, you're making money. And there are people who absolutely will fabricate absolutely anything to get those clicks and likes. Perhaps by now you have seen this, this 5-year-old kid who tries to feed M&Ms to a alligator outside the door, and his mom freaks out. Okay, that's obviously fake. Perhaps now you've seen the wealthiest, beautiful people inside the skyscraper pool with the glass walls, and then the glass walls break and they get flushed off to die. And that's all completely made up. And if you watched it for more than 10 seconds, who cares? They made money off of your gullibility. All right. Now, much of what I'm telling you now, you probably get. Right? You probably understand that. Which brings me to why we're doing this whole program. It is aggravating me to no end that people are profiting off the sensitivity and gullibility of your average person. And I'm as gullible as anybody else. I am. So, if these hucksters can make money off of telling lies, why can't I just tell the truth? And no, I don't need millions of people. I don't even need to make money. I just want to be a place to encourage people and give them the truth, the vetted truth, to the best of my ability. My specialty is epideictic rhetoric, the rhetoric that binds us. We have far more in common than we have that would ever drive us apart. Now, here is the platform. We know that more people are watching YouTube these days than television. And some of those people like to watch long form television. So that's why we do this program on a Monday night. You can watch it for an hour and maybe you'll get something out of it. It certainly will be interesting. It'll be entertaining, as people will tell me, I'm interested in what you have to say, Jeff, because you say interesting things. Okay, thank you. So that is the long form. We then, as you can see when I use this dinger here, have the ability to cut this into little pieces, and we will distribute this out to the world in these shortened pieces. And that could look like something YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and TikTok, I should say. TikTok. Oops, sorry about that. TikTok, a little different. We'll get to that later. Speaking of which, I'm holding up this can of soda, which has been covered over with this clever little sign, for sale, your product here. I can't tell you. Oh, it's so thirst quenching. It's so delicious. I would love to tell you what this product is, but nobody's paid me to say that yet. And my breath would be so minty fresh with whatever mint you decide to offer to the program. Like I say, baby needs a new pair of shoes. Okay, now we have the shortened videos that we pull out of this. We put those in formats that are, as you can see, sideways. We also are then going to turn these into vertical clips, and we're going to make them 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Why? Because we're available for you 24/7, 2 minutes, 47-second clips. And we're going to do that every single day. So we've got the weekly 1 hour show. We have the daily 2 minute and 47 segments. We then peel off the audio and put it onto the niche cast, which is available through Live 365 and also through podcasts. We will store this on the website, which is still in development, and the website will look a lot like a newspaper. What does that mean? Well, you know what a newspaper looks like. You'll go to the website and you'll scroll down and you can, oh, look at this. This is the niche cast right now. See all the different ways we have to listen and watch. This whole website is getting reformulated, so it's more integrative. So no matter how you want to get encouraging content, no matter what length you want, whether you want it audio, whether you want it video, whether you want it text, whether you want it books that I have actually written, you can see above me, strategically placed on the shelf. We are here for you. And the purpose, of course, you can see I got a tongue in my cheek a little bit, but seriously, come on. We are worrying each other to death. We are like sheep, aren't we? Why don't we just figure out a way to relax and pour encouragement into other people? On Mondays, I'll talk about you as the hero. On Tuesdays, I'll talk about the American story because it's an amazing one. On Wednesdays, I'll talk about villains that we face in our lives. On Thursday and Friday, I'll talk about some of the books I've written and some of the programs I do. I was just speaking today to a telephone company. On the weekends, I'll just do something silly. On Saturday, I'll talk about, a keep or toss or something. On Sunday, I'll read some scripture that's been helpful for me in the week and a centering sort of what we're doing. And so that's the whole point. I think Matthew West has a song where he is seeing some injustice in the world, and he complains in the song, God, what are you going to do about it? And God says, well, that's why I made you, right? If you want to know why God created you, an easy way to figure it out is find out what bothers you personally. What are you seeing in the world that you don't like? And that's probably your hint that is why you were put into the world. Empty, divisive, inflammatory, and false information drives me absolutely crazy. So that's why we're doing it. If you know somebody who just wants to hear an interesting guy talk about interesting things, reach out to me. This is the website. It's ILikeThatStory.com. Comment, share, and see if we can help bring some people into the fold. Now, we do interviews, and we had a chance to talk to a friend of mine. And Booker, do we have her up now? Do we have Allie's information? And we just want to roll to the there it is right there. So I had a chance to talk to Allie Gabriel. And speaking of which, if you're looking to be a guest on the show, it's simple enough. Just reach out to us. We're looking for people with good stories who can have information to share. Let's hear from Allie Gabriel. What's the best piece of advice you ever got?
I love this one, by the way. So we were on my dad. We're going to move to my mom now. I think I was probably 14 or 15. Actually, no, I know I was 15 now because I can timeline it in my mind. She brought me just a 3x5 index card, and she had written on the top decision-making skills, and it had number 1, number 2, and number 3. And we talked for a very long time, and she said, I want you going forward, before you make any big decision in your life, to ask yourself these 3 questions.
I got to write these down.
Okay. Number 1, does it glorify God? Number 2, does it show love for others? And number 3, does it show respect for yourself? And I don't need to write these down because they're ingrained in my heart and my mind. And I have gone back to those 3 questions more times in my life than I can count.
You know what happens when you're 15 and you get this list? You're not going to have any fun this weekend, are you? You can't go out with any. Okay. I can't do any. Right.
I had a mirror in my room, kind of a full length vintage mirror that
Mhm.
I would sit in front of it, crisscross every morning and do my hair and put on some mascara. And I stuck the index card on the mirror, and it was there for forever. It was there for as long as I lived at home after that, and then followed me to new mirrors and new places of residence. And now again, I don't need the card anymore. I wish I still had it, in fact, but I don't need it anymore.
Do you know where she got that from? Did she ever
I
tell you?
don't know. Honestly, I could ask her. I don't know if it was hers or if it's something she had gleaned from a conference or a book or a Bible study or something. But
I'm assuming that since that's been was posted for her to see, she knew what an impact it had. Have you ever talked to her about that?
no, I will though. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I will. But
Now
think
you-
about vetting anything you do through that filter.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's just
You
a
know,
recipe for success.
Yeah, yes. And it really is most people would say he's fun loving, she's fun loving. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, we say, but really it diminishes your possibility to be joy seeking, right?
Yeah.
You really want to seek joy. Joy is more longer lasting, it's more fulfilling, it's better. But often we trade that in for fun. And fun is expensive, as I see it, many, many funerals. I do many funerals for the fun uncle, the fun aunt, the fun brother, and they all die, oh boy, way before their time. Because fun invariably has some sort of dangerous and or addictive and or illegal procedure. Afterwards, if you survive, oh, it's a great story. And I laugh at the good stories, but I don't tell the group because I'm not going to. But I think to myself, yeah, I remember that story. That was for this guy over here who didn't survive that story, and I did his funeral. So I guess I don't want to be that much of a wet blanket, but internally I am going, oh, right? You know what I'm saying? Now, you have daughters. Have you given them that advice?
I haven't done the index card thing though, but I'm inspired now.
Isn't that great? Now, maybe you don't know Allie Gabriel, but that's okay. Isn't it fascinating that on the internet, we only are interested in people who we know, who are famous. But some of the wisest things I've heard are from just ordinary people. Allie is well known in her circle, of course, but you know what I'm talking about. So if you know somebody who has a good story or some good insight, it would be a good interview. Reach out to us. We have a number of these posted out into the future. We will start these little 2-minute and 47-second videos on March 1st. On March 5th, we'll start just launching these long form interviews. I'm just teasing that one we did with Allie Gabriel, but those will also be on the YouTube channel, also be on the website. I like that story. And anyway, so that's that little plan. So that is our last chapter. Now, he might be watching right now because I told his wife about this. I want to now give you tips from a 4th grade teacher. So let's see if we can pull up here. Okay, this is Jim Glenn. That's his wife, Joanne. And when I talked to him about this story, he said, I prefer to remain anonymous. So fortunately for me, he lives several states away and he probably can't reach me. So I'm just going to tell this story anyway. In life, you might get a good teacher. And a good teacher not just teaches you things, they change your life trajectory. So when Jim was a 4th grade teacher, just starting out, he would read about these people who would do cool things, and he would just copy all of them. And he looked at his 4th grade class and he said, well, they could be better readers. They're kind of out of shape, whatever. And he just had all of these systems to help the kids transform themselves. Now, if you were to go into education, this is what we know. You should try to say 3 positive things to every 1 negative thing. If you can get to 6 to 1, man, oh man, will you get a response. Well, as a parent, that's hard to say 6 positive things to 1 negative thing. That most of us can't do that. But Jim Glenn came up with what he called were Glynn bucks. He would go to the old mimeograph machine and he would mimeograph these fake bills, and he would give them to kids who were doing anything that he wanted them to do. Like if they were reading a book, wow, okay, here's some Glynn bucks. If you were out walking in the gymnasium, he had it chalked out how long it would take to go to a mile. And he had in the board, this is how many miles it would take us as a class to get to Seattle. And so throughout the year, they just did more and more things. We're talking planting grass on the top, on the square in front of the school that was all padded down. We're talking spinning basketballs at halftime. This class of 4th graders would do anything for these Glynn bucks. They would read, they would run, they won all the field day competitions. They read so much that they blew the doors off of the annual tests for reading. Parents would come up and say, "What in the world are you doing?" Now, I like it, but my daughter would never read, and now I can't get her nose out of a book. And this is the story that goes with this that I think is most interesting, because the Glynn bucks could only be used at an auction that was held throughout the year. And he'd get bags of potato chips or candy bars, things like that they would auction off. And occasionally books from, the Scholastic Book Fair, stuff like that. And he got a hold of 4 Twins tickets to the Minnesota Twins. Jim taught in Minnesota at this time. And it comes to the end of the year, and everybody is bidding at the auction for what they can get for Glynn bucks, except 3 boys who are staying out of the bidding because they want all in on the grand prize, tickets to see the Minnesota Twins in the middle 70s. This would have been. Can you imagine a 4th grader and what they would do? And can you imagine this kid? His name is Jeff Evenson, I believe his name is, because his favorite baseball player is not playing for the Twins. He's playing for the Baltimore Orioles, who are playing the Twins. And his name is Bobby Grich. Bobby Grich. He's a second baseman. He's got a certain panache, and this kid loves Bobby Grich. Well, they win tickets thanks to all of their hard work to go to watch the Twins play. Trying to remember the name of the stadium that was around. That was before. Well, anyway, it's an outdoor field. It was a beautiful day. And they got some pretty good tickets. They were behind the Baltimore Oriole dugout, and it was batting practice before the game even started. So those eager boys and Mr. Glynn, their teacher, are all there watching batting practice. And sure enough, in the outfield is Bobby Grich. And Mr. Glynn says to Jeff Evenson, there he is. Now, when he comes in from batting practice, as he's running in, trotting in, shout out, "Hey, Bobby, toss me a ball," because there's a pretty good chance he has a baseball in his glove. So this 4th grade kid sees Bobby, his hero, run in, and he says, "Hey, Bobby, toss me a ball." And sure enough, tosses it to him. He catches it. Oh, can you imagine the look on his face? And then the game starts, and they all got their gloves, right? And they're behind the dugout, and that's pretty good foul ball territory, right? And so Mr. Glynn, Jim, says, now, here's the deal. If it hits over the fence, you get your balls up patrol, there's a pretty good chance you might get a foul ball. You ready? Yes, okay. And sure enough, one of the players hits a foul ball, and Jeff Evenson catches that foul ball. And the guy who hit the foul ball was Bobby Grich. Bobby Grich. He had 2 of them. And then you'd have to know Jim Glynn, because now he's just warming up. Now the game is winding down. And he says, "Now, Jeff, come on over here." There's the dugout. When the game ends, I want you to crawl on your belly onto that dugout and then lean your arms over the top of the dugout with this pen and this ball and say, "Hey, Bobby, will you sign this for me?" Now, the minute you get on that dugout, the security people are going to say, "Get off, get off." Don't listen to them. So the game's over. Jeff takes that ball, takes the pen, hops on the dugout on his belly, works his way to the top. Security guys, "Kid, get off." Doesn't listen to him. Sticks his arm down with a pen. "Hey, Mr. Gritch, can you sign this?" Signs the ball, gives it back. Will that kid ever forget that? Well, here's the inside stuff. It's the internet, right? I got a message into Bobby Gritch. I would love to tell him that story. I want to know what he's doing these days. He was a professional baseball player. He was nominated for the Hall of Fame, got like 3% of the vote, so not really a chance. But Sabermetrics and some of the new stats said he was much a better player than he gave him credit for. I think he works for the Angels now. He's in his late 70s. Does he even know the impact he made? Jeff Evenson, you know how many there are out there? There's a lot. Jeff, if you're hearing the story, call me up. If I could connect Mr. Glynn. Oh, by the way, you recognize me? So when I got up into the majors, I had a little stiff shoulder. So I asked this guy to fill in for me. He took my jersey. His name was Rod Carew, and I never had a chance to play again. A true story? No, but I like the story anyway. Anyway, wouldn't it be great to connect Bobby Gritch, Jim Glynn, and Jeff Evenson? You know, I know you know somebody who's got a story, maybe not that story, but another good story. Those are the stories I want. That's why we call the website I Like That Story. So send it to me if you got one. Send it to me if you got one. Now, we go on to our next chapter. Movie of the week. Now, this got into my feed. There is probably a movie that you identify with. And this is the movie I identify with. For one reason, that I am almost the exact age as the star of this movie. So as he starred in that movie, and I was the age when he came out, and now as he is aged, so I have aged. So I'm just watching his life as a movie star, and also as a person, and also as part of an iconic movie that is really one of the best movies ever made. And let's watch the trailer.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious.
I'm from the future. I came here in a time machine that you invented.
Great Scott! 1.21 gigawatts!
What the hell is a gigawatt? And fly. Hello? Anybody home? You're George McFly. Who are you? Dad!
Just relax, Calvin. You got a big bruise on your head. That is your name, isn't it? Calvin Klein? It's written all over your underwear.
We're sending you back to the future!
Listen to this.
Oh, fellas, I'm afraid you just too darn loud.
Guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are gonna love it.
Roads? Well, we're going, we don't need roads.
Back in time.
Has it been that long?
A really good movie trailer makes you want to see the movie, even, and it doesn't give away the movie. Yeah. Obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously. There's a slight chance you've not seen that movie before. What I love about that movie is, like I said, when it came out in 1985, I was in my middle 20s. That's the way we dressed, just like the kids in the movie at that time. That's what we dressed. We had these sleeveless down jackets. We had the Levi 501s. We had the high top Nikes. That's what everybody wore. It was just what we wore. And we didn't understand the 50s. And now it was 30 years later, and now 40 years later, now more than 40 years later. And the older that movie comes, the more fascinating it is, because we are all in a time machine, aren't we? And then to watch the actors, and they have progressed in some of the trials and tribulations they've gone through. It really is not just a great movie to watch for 2 hours. To me, it's like a great metaphor for what life has been like. And as the movie plays out, I think of the things that I have seen in the 40 years and more since that movie came out. So that's the movie of the week. If you haven't seen it, see it again. If you have kids or grandkids, watch them, because they're not going to get so many of the different scenes. There's a section in the movie where Michael J. Fox asks for a Pepsi Free. Pepsi Free existed on the market for maybe 9 months. It was soda without any coloring in it. So it was just fizzy, clear water. And it was called Pepsi Free. They made a try at it. People drank it, but they just turns out that they like the caramel food coloring. So at any rate, I'd like a Pepsi Free. And the guy says, you got to pay for it like everybody else. A kid is simply not going to get the reference. But for a period in time, it was a good joke. So that is our last chapter. No. Now, we got to go back. If you've hung with us so far, here's the question. What genius idea did you like the most? We had two choices. We had Z-pins, and we had the deer whistle. And what has been the result? What are the votes, Booker? Oh, hey! A small sample size, I'm going to guess. Some people are loading that up. Z-pins. All right, there we go. There's a chance. By the way, I think the patent has expired. If you want, direct mail me. I'll get you the blueprints for the Z-pin. Okay, final chapter. Mailbag. Okay, here we go. First off, we need to give credits to our biggest video. So we have videos, we put them on all the time. And out of curiosity, we say, what's been our best video? What has done the most action on the internet? And of all things, this little clip has gotten more action than anything else. Here we go. My comment is, be careful on the road. There's a lot of turkeys out there. Right? At this particular intersection, there's anywhere between 2 and 5 turkeys. Now, watch this again. Booker and I were looking at this. We're not into wild turkeys, but is that like a feather that they have intentionally hanging out the front? I guess so. Who knew? Who knew? Anyway, that far and away, more than any other pithy things I've said on the internet, that's the one that got the most action. Okay, and the question from the mailbag was this. Let's pull that up. Jeff, what are your plans for Lent? Alan D., what are your plans for Lent? Some people live in warmer parts of the country, and good for them. I'm glad you are. One of the things I like about living on the northern plains is that the light is such that in winter, there really are times of introspection. It gets dark early. The weather is kind of somber. It's winter. It's cold. And that 40-day period between Ash Wednesday and Easter, I just love it, because it's a time to just sort of contemplate and slow down. And during Lent, and we did this when our kids were little, and we've kind of kept it up. We don't watch television much during Lent. Now, what does that mean now? Does that mean we don't watch YouTube? Good question. I'm on YouTube. Can I broadcast? I guess I will. I guess what I've taken it to mean is during the Lenten season, at night at the end of the day, I don't watch, I read. Now you see the bookshelf behind me here. And this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get my 100 best books. What 100 books have I read that have changed my life the most? Fiction, nonfiction. What 100 books would I recommend? Randy Anderson last year said Remains of the Day. That's a fiction book. It is marvelously written. It is a really beautiful way to explain on how you can completely squander a life, as this poor main character does. He has so many opportunities and he just never gets it. And I guess what you love about the book is doesn't resolve itself very well. And then you realize when you read the book, oh my goodness, what if I don't resolve my life? And I think it does a good job of just making you want to live the best possible version of your story. I also get business books. Some are better than others, but they're, good for me to learn from. But that's my question for you. What book would you recommend that I read? I like to read. I'm a pretty good reader, pretty fast reader. So throw it out there in the comments, and I'll see if I can add that to my stack during the Lenten season. No, I don't do a goal about how many books am I going to read. Actually, the book that's probably been the most, my most efficient, my most effective book has been this one here. Side note, pet peeve, when people say, I read the Bible in a year, and shouldn't you be reading it every day? Shouldn't it be a daily habit? So that's one of the things that I do, just to try to pull some wisdom out of that excellent and ancient tome. Well, anyway, all of that is aside. That is the end of our program today. What time is it? Yes, hour's almost up. So if you like what you see, comment, like, share. Dwayne Bickett will be back in next week as our sidekick. We'll also be bringing some guests in, and we welcome your response as well. Until we meet, I am Jeff Gould with I Like That Story and ILikeThatStory.com. God bless.